I'm Amy Wan with Security Token Academy, and I'm here with Morvareed Salehpour.
Hi.
All right, so you're a blockchain attorney. So in terms of what you've seen for legal hurdles, what does the landscape look like?
I think there's a couple issues that are now starting to develop. One of the most interesting issues, in my opinion, is issues with when things go wrong on a blockchain. So there's issues with regard to jurisdiction, what court are you going to sue in, what country, because it could be the situation where when something goes wrong, every single place there is a node is a point of liability. So all of a sudden you could be subject to conflicting laws across different nations. So you kind of have to set yourself in a position where you have a good argument in terms of where you're liable. Similarly, there's issues with enforcement, because where are you going to enforce an order, even if you're able to get that from a court, where the court doesn't have jurisdiction over people who are members of this public blockchain and are decentralized across the world. And there's similar issues with who you can even hold liable, because a lot of transactions will involve people you may not be able to pinpoint because of the decentralized nature of the blockchain.
So these are all a lot of really novel legal issues. What's the solution going to be? How are you going to grapple with these things? Or are we going to see maybe the emergence of new legal infrastructure?
I think one of the big issues is going to be that it's going to start evolving in courts, and you will see new decisions coming down. Like there's already a decision or a case that's pending in New York where someone has asked for a court-ordered rescue fork, and that's something where some of these issues will be resolved when a decision is made in that case. But the way to kind of protect yourself right now is to get an attorney who is knowledgeable about the space involved in coding the smart contracts, so kind of giving you advice and making sure your smart contracts are appropriately set up to anticipate some of these issues, so that you have set yourself up for a strong argument when you do come up with issues regarding liability enforcement and jurisdiction.
So that brings up a very interesting point. There are a lot of purported blockchain attorneys now. What should they be doing or thinking about to make sure that they are adequately protecting their client?
I think they need to actually understand the space and the issues that are coming up. I think a lot of focus right now is on securities law, which is a very limited focus, and the innovation that's going on in blockchain has more widespread effects and will actually cause just changes in how our legal structure works and how our cases are decided, because we all have to come up with ways to resolve the issues that are common to a decentralized system, and that's something we're not really prepared to address right now because we're used to centralized systems. So we do need to get creative and use past precedent in a creative way to get our clients where they need to be.
Really interesting. Well, let's talk for a second about securities, laws and regulations, and tokenization. Do you think we have enough regulation, not enough, or what needs to change in order for this industry to move forward in a responsible fashion?
I think one of the things that needs to happen is that we need new regulations that are blockchain company specific. So one of the things that I'm really interested in, and I think is a good idea, is there's a Digital Currency Act. And that is a proposal by the common laws that society, and it has basically the same organization that proposed the UCC and the states adopted has now basically proposed this law, and the ABA is on board now, and it will standardize money transmission licensing rules across the states so that companies that are in the blockchain space don't have to comply with 50 different laws, but will only have one law that they need to comply with, and it's specific to them, so that there are exemptions for blockchain companies so that they are not unnecessarily covered for purposes of licensing, because as it is right now, they may be subject to licensing even if they're just researchers that are transmitting coins.
Yeah, that's really interesting. The security token industry right now, it seems to be primarily based in the US. The rest of the world is still on this thing about utility tokens and things like that. What gives? Do you think the security token industry is going to be it and the rest of the world will move that way, or are we going to have two different paradigms?
Well, I believe it's all going to kind of follow the US. I think we've always been the leader in a lot of laws and regulations. I feel other countries are starting to follow us. There's already a couple countries, I believe it was Switzerland, was starting to say basically it's a security. I think the UK has also come out recently supporting that kind of classification. So I think it's all going to start falling in line, and there will only be loopholes left for so long.
Right now, ICOs and STOs and all these token sale offerings, they are still going around and incorporating in crazy jurisdictions, jurisdiction shopping in the Caymans and Malta and you name it. Do you have any thoughts about that? Is that trend going to continue?
I think it may in the short term, and I also think that they should realize that the fact that you are purposely going out and trying to forum shop does not mean that the SEC won't come after you if you're still engaging in business in the US and you still have effects in the US. That's all changing, and the SEC can come out at any point and say, well, you're really operating business in the US, your funds are coming in here, so we're going to come after you.
How do you think the practice of law might change due to blockchain or distributed ledger technology?
I think lawyers are just going to have to understand coding more. I think smart contracts are going to be something where it's going to have to involve the lawyers and the developers working together. So I think there's going to be a lot more technological innovation that lawyers need to understand, and they really have to understand how that works on, how blockchain really works on a technical level.
Very interesting. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Amy Wan from Security Token Academy.
Thank you for having me.